Hey guys, it's Crystal Lee Moore Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Crystal Lee Moore. This is Realtor Life, and today is day 19 of our 30-day challenge. And today's podcast was really cool. It was Mel Robbins, and she interviewed the author of The Secret Life of Teenagers. So they recorded this podcast in May 2023. And for anyone who's listening to this who actually lived through the craziness of COVID, and anyone with children, what we all kind of realize is that stuff went down. And we're still trying to pick up the pieces, but it's some really cool stuff. And I mean, even if you're listening to this and you are an entrepreneur or a real estate professional doing the challenge, let's say you don't have teenagers, I bet you your clients do. I bet you there's people around you, or maybe you're listening to this and you yourself was a teenager during the pandemic. And when they talk about adolescence, they talk about, they actually refer to people who are between the ages of 11 and 25. That's insane. When we think about teen, we think just the word teen, 11 to 25, but there's a delay for the kids that were going through it in COVID. So they may be in adolescence for longer. Really cool advice. And I mean, I would like you guys to listen. It is a long one. So this particular podcast was a bit longer than usual. For the ones I choose, this was an hour and 15 minutes, which is pretty crazy. But an hour and 15 minutes worth every second. And really, like, spoiler alert, what kids need most, like the thing that they need most is a steady presence in an adult. So if they're talking to you about something, if you're lucky enough that they are speaking to you about whatever's going on, they just want you to listen, not freak out. So if they're freaking out, don't freak out. And then the other thing that was kind of cool to hear, because I've never heard it said out loud, was that they said, like, a teenager has two jobs. Job number one is to start to become more independent, and job number two is just like to spend as much time with their friends as they can, and kind of how COVID really changed that dynamic. So become more independent as much as possible and spend more time with your friends. And obviously COVID didn't really allow that natural development, and so there will be a delay. But how can we help the adolescents in our lives? How can we help each other? How can we help our families and friends and kids and all of that? So really cool. And I hope that you were able to really analyze your routines and your patterns and the things that you've built into your life, because it will really help as you go on. What I started doing, so that 24-hour scan, like what makes you happy, what made you happy in the last 24 hours, and what are you grateful for? I started doing that now before I even open my eyes in the morning. I did it this morning. It was awesome. And it was a cool, like, it kind of also covers silence, right? So silence and the gratitude, like, then you wake up and that's how you're starting your day, with what made you happy and what were you grateful for in the previous 24 hours. So, I mean, stay tuned on how that really works out for me, but it was pretty cool. We are changing things up where we're not going to read a page from Brianna's book today. We didn't do it yesterday, and it really is just a reset. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. If you're not able to walk outside, and I did admit that I did not walk outside, the weather in our national capital of Ottawa, Ontario this weekend, I mean, and bless everyone again, like I think I'm just a big baby, because there seemed to be quite like an exorbitant amount of people at the canal, outside, on the highway, everywhere. And I breathed in, guys, and I think my lungs froze, like, on the spot. So all my hard work, I am now a London, Ontario girl, and that was solidified this weekend in the Arctic tundra that my hometown, my OG hometown, was. So we're going to continue, though, because here's the thing. What have we learned as entrepreneurs? You get to decide if a setback is going to stop you in your tracks, or if you're going to persevere in spite of a setback. So for me, a setback is that my routine got interrupted by visiting family. It was so cold outside, but it also gave me an opportunity to revisit, like, is it working? Like the success formula by Tony Robbins, is it working? And I would argue that it was, but also there was a more efficient way to do it. And that's what we're always doing as entrepreneurs and as realtors, as professionals. We're always just trying to tweak everything to see, can it be better? Can it be more efficient? Can it save me time? Can it help my clients? Can it help me sell more houses, attract more people, have better friendships, have more downtime, make sure I'm taking care of myself, all of this stuff. And so at the end of the day, it really is your own journey, but why do it alone, right? Like, we're here for each other. And one thing I really like about the Mel Robbins podcast that she does is she reminds everyone that they're doing great, that she loves them, and that they have each other. She has us and we have her. And that's a pretty cool vibe to put out there, especially post-pandemic, because isolation was, I forget who said it. I want to say like the World Health Organization, but it was like the leading cause of death. Like, it was an epidemic. And when you think about like punishments that are outlawed, like solitary confinement, it was not allowed. And then you look at like kind of what we all went through with COVID, and even talking about, so they brought up eating disorders, but the way they brought it up was that while you were isolated during the pandemic, you're searching, let's say you want to improve yourself, as we always do, right? So entrepreneurs, everyone, we're always trying to improve ourselves. So you go and start looking at like diet and fitness tips, or how to be a better realtor, or how to get more clients, make more money, blah, 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 whatever. And then all of a sudden your Instagram feed is just like a typhoon of successful, awesome people. Buy this program, buy that program. Everyone's selling 18 houses a day. Aren't you? Like, what's wrong with you? And it is overwhelming. So I think when you use social media for your business, I think it can really strengthen things. I think it's a wonderful way to stay connected. But there's a point when you can't, like, if you start comparing yourself to the highlight reel on Instagram, and they say that, like, don't compare your story to someone else's highlight reel. That's not fair to you. And it's not fair to your mental health. It's not fair at all. And spoiler alert, guys, sometimes people really are crushing it. But I've gotten to the end of a calendar year and I've seen people online like sold, like all these things. And then when you look at their actual numbers, they didn't do so good. So not to say everyone's like that, but the reality sometimes doesn't match the show. And if you're going to be inspired by someone, leave them on your feed. If you're going to let it bring you down or let it affect you in a negative way, unfollow, like today. I had to go through and I got rid of a bunch of fitness models and like all these people because I was like, it was just getting ridiculous. And I am a woman in my 40s and I'm not ever going to be a woman in my 20s. Now, props to Christina Aguilera, whatever she's doing, she has busted that myth. She is a woman in her 20s right now. But for the most of us, like, you can't do it. It's not happening. And so why would I stop being grateful for my body and start looking at like that? Or like my clients in my business. I'm so grateful for my business. What would be the point of me all of a sudden just comparing myself day in and day out to other people that have a different business model? And I hope you're not doing that either. And I mean, to the point that like if it's furniture, clothing, travel, trips, education, whatever it is, if it's not serving you, maybe there's no point in looking at it. So those are just food for thought. I will put the episode, the Mel Robbins podcast link below, as always. Thank you guys so much for being on this journey with me. We are really going to be so transformed at the end of this. And if not completely transformed, a little step further on our path of transformation. I'm Crystal Lee Moore-Lucier, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Crystal Lee Moore. Thanks for joining us.